Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Leisrealtalk. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. It's Thursday night, and Friday for some of you. The weekend is right ahead of us. So I always feel great about Thursday night's live streams. All right, let me ask you a question. What do you think will be the product that will very quickly be sold out in China? Actually, it has already been sold out for the past couple of weeks. Well, it is the nuclear radiation detector. Let me turn this off. Sorry, let me turn this off. And the nuclear radiation detector sales surged 232%. And in less than a week, they were sold out and on back orders. Well, this is because Beijing has stirred up a national publicity campaign against Japan over the release of the treated nuclear plant water in Fukushima. China stopped importing seafood from around Fukushima, and some Chinese staged protests against Japanese and boycotted Japanese product. But they become very concerned with radioactive materials. And I should say, those who have already bought their nuclear radiation detector will find it handy in coming weeks, because some Chinese are concerned that a radioactive disaster isn't coming from Japan, but is homegrown and is coming from England. So in the capital city of Inner Mongolia, Huhehaote, people have been lining up in the hospital to be treated for asthma-like symptoms. The CCTV reported that on the night of September 2nd, there was a sudden surge of asthma cases in the city after a thunderstorm. The report quoted the deputy director of the pediatrics department at the Inner Mongolia Medical University Hospital as saying, "We admitted a total of more than 400 children." Oh, actually, I do have slides. Here we go. They admitted more than 400 children that evening. And that's just one hospital. Imagine there could possibly be thousands of children and adults being sick that evening in the city. I have asked my editor to compile a video that this social media video that shows the hospital scene. Let me, is that from the very beginning? Yeah. So these are kind of just a collage of videos people captured in Inner Mongolia, and showing how people line up to be treated. This one is audio. And this one says there's not enough room, so people are being treated in the corridors. And this one, there's some discussions that saying that people are trying to find out if they have COVID. This woman looks like she's seriously in pain. Has a breathing problem. This one is very interesting. The doctor is explaining patients or people who want to be treated outside and explaining where they should get medications for asthma, and say, after you get the medications, let me know if you have questions. So it looks like there are a lot of people, and they just don't bother to admit them or see them in the hospital. They just tell them what to do outside. The hospital, the doctor basically said, anyone here to treat asthma, you should go get your medications, so on and so forth. So that's the kind of the snapshot of what it looks like in a hospital. Now, the official CCP media gave it a medical term. They call that thunderstorm asthma or storm asthma. And they said it's an allergy caused by the area's, it's called Artemisia plants, which has a high pollen concentration in August, September. I've heard of pollen in spring, but not in fall. But I guess they're saying it's high, has a high pollen in the fall or in the pre-fall months. And the official explanation goes like this. It says the wind uplifts the allergens, and after being struck by lightning during a storm, they became smaller particles that get inhaled into people's lungs, causing asthma-like symptoms. But people wonder, Inner Mongolia always has had this type of plants. So why is this year particularly bad? And allergies' common symptoms are sneezing, runny nose, itchy throat, and so on. And they're not as serious as, difficulty in breathing. So people have been having all sorts of speculations. Some say it's COVID, and but people tested themselves and they found themselves negative. Others say it's the side effect of domestic COVID vaccines. So on September 4th, a few posts appear on Twitter. Yeah, let me just read this. And saying that people in Inner Mongolia have been exposed to a radioactive substance, uranium, right, the one that's used for nuclear reactors. And this substance, uranium, has been carelessly excavated in a local coal mine. And the radioactive dust particles have drifted with wind and rain, inhaled by people, causing burns or burning to their lungs. And as a result, the regime has deployed its biological and nuclear defense regiment to manage the emergency. Now, I saw this post a few days ago. When I first read it, it sounds too shocking and a little hard to believe. So I let it sit. But after a few days, and as more people looked into it and reported the situation, more evidence has emerged. The mine in question here is located in Ordos, Inner Mongolia. The mine's ownership has been disputed and it was later abandoned. The mine used to be managed by a local prison. Oftentimes Chinese prisons use inmates as cheap labor, right, to work in mines. But there were serious corruptions at the mine and also in the prison. So the mine's ownership was transferred to the armed police. Later, this mine became the property of an auto company affiliated with the military. And the mine was a underground mine or non-open pit mine. But after becoming the owner, the military auto company gave the mining rights to a local mine operator who opted an open pit mining. So mining activities began on August 20th. And a few days later, something bizarre happened when two drivers of the mining haul trucks suddenly developed ulcers all over their bodies and passed brown urine. And they were brought to, and they were first thought to be infected with sexually transmitted disease and were sent to China's CDC, and they died there. The CDC found that they had radiation disease and reported the case upward to higher authority. And the two drivers were buried in coffins made up of lead. Speaking of lead coffins, we all know that Madame Curie, the famous French scientist who discovered radium, a radioactive element, was buried in a lead coffin after her death. Because Madame Curie was exposed to radiation for a long time due to her research her remains also contained radioactive substances. So she was buried in a thick lead coffin. So after the authorities buried the two radioactively contaminated drivers, rain came. The rain transported the coal dusts in the open mine into the air. Coupled with wind, the radioactive dusts got blown away. And that's when the city saw a sudden surge of asthma cases. People had hard time breathing. Now, people's lung can get burned from these radioactive substances and develop ulcers. And that's a symptom common to this type of exposure to radiation. This type of radiation exposure. So the Ministry of Emergency Management traced the source of the radiation back to the open piles of coal in the coal mine in Ordos. Unfortunately, the coal, the mined coal had already been shipped to other coal yards. Some of them have been transported via freight trains to thermal power plants across China. Now, because of coal production restrictions, the coal was in high demand and was snatched immediately as soon as it was mined. So the production of this, because it had only started its mining activities for a number of days, the production wasn't large, but the distribution was wide. So it was difficult to track where the coal went. And at that point, the Ministry of Emergency Management requested the PLA to step in and help. Now, this information that I just spelled out for you isn't shared with the public. The misery, however, can be felt in the area. And one former Chinese journalist who now lives in the US, Zhao Lanjian, said in his Twitter account or X account that Inner Mongolia is in a state of a nuclear war. So I just share with you what's said in the post. The question I had was, if it's just coal, why do people say it's radioactive? Well, some trace elements in coal are naturally radioactive, and these radioactive elements include uranium. And there are mines that are rich in both uranium deposits and coal. And the coal mine in Inner Mongolia, the one in Ordos, is one such mine. So let me share with you some. So 10 years ago, the Ministry of Land and Resources announced that the largest uranium deposit in the country was discovered in central Inner Mongolia. And it says this discovery has ended China's history of having no world-class uranium mines. It was said by State Councilor Zhang Hongtao at the time. Now, this largest uranium deposit is located exactly in Ordos, Inner Mongolia, where the coal mine is located. The mining of this type of coal should be regulated and managed carefully because of the risk, right? And so there are a number of Chinese articles from that time after this mine was discovered. And so this one is from China's Science and Technology paper or journal 10 years ago. And the title is How to Responsibly Mine Coal and Uranium Remains a Challenge. Oh, no, this one is titled is How to Responsibly Mine Coal and Uranium Remains a Challenge to Mine Owners. And the next one, this one around the same time, this one is November 19th, 2012. South China Morning Post, well, actually the Global Times republished an article from South China Morning Post, and the title is Coal Mining May Invite Risk of Nuclear Contamination. And basically, it said that large uranium reserves were covered up between layers of coal deposits in central Inner Mongolia. And the article quoted a nuclear power industry executive who said that coal mining in China has eroded the uranium reserves. And here's a quote: "The problem is that if we leave these deposits there, they will be destroyed very quickly by coal mining." And this is from Professor Gu from China's Nuclear Energy Research Institute. With the very likely result that China's vast uranium deposits will end up in the furnaces of thermal power plants rather than in nuclear reactors. When this happens, the large amounts of ash containing radioactive material will pose a threat to the safety of all. And the article also quoted, well, actually, here's a smaller view of the article. It also quoted another professor, Ying Lianqin of North China Electric Power University, who said that he conducted experiments to monitor radioactivity levels in neighborhoods near thermal power plants that burn coal. And the results were alarming. He said, "We found high contamination levels that were hundreds of times higher than those near nuclear power plants." And there's this article from 2018 discussing radiation safety, explained how rainfalls, on the next page, rainfalls, snow, as well as underground water can increase the radiation level in the air. And I think that sort of explains why the region saw a sudden surge of cases, asthma, after a thunderstorm. So now people are saying that the radioactive material or similar cases of asthma attack, or what do you call that, thunderstorm asthma, have reached at least Shanxi, Hebei, Beijing. Now, Beijing is only 500 kilometers southeast of Huhehaote. Let me show you a map. So Inner Mongolia is highlighted. And by the way, the location of Huhehaote and then the mine is in the center of Inner Mongolia. So it's somewhere probably between in the space between Inner and Mongolia, somewhere there, right above Shanxi. Maybe under the M. Yeah, somewhere there. So you see, it's not far from Beijing, right? Beijing is right to the east of that. So and I checked on the map, Google Map. It's only 500 kilometers away, which is about less than 350 miles. So Beijing is very close to that area. And Beijing has also reported an increased number of asthma or storm asthma. And if you really look at this map, you see there are quite a number of provinces that border Inner Mongolia, and this includes, if you look at Gansu, right, Ningxia, Shanxi, Shanxi, Hebei, Beijing, and all the way to northeast, Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning. And I've also seen patients in Heilongjiang, the northernmost province of China, reporting that he was suffering exactly the same symptoms. So it has spread to, as far as Heilongjiang in the northeast of China. So it has been spreading. In the past decades, I read that over 1 billion tons of coal has been mined or excavated in China. Not in China, I'm sorry, in Inner Mongolia. In Inner Mongolia, and sent to other parts of China to be burned. Now, people say that the symptoms in the beginning stage is mostly coughing and difficulty in breathing, as people inhale the dust particles, right, that burn their lung. But in a few years, because they can get rid of these radioactive dusts, but in a few years, they may develop cancer. And and people say, some people say the problem is deeply rooted in the Chinese system. And they say no one likes radiation contamination, but CCP's policies governing, mine activities, or CCP has piles and piles of policies governing this type of work, but they're useless. No one cares, and everyone is trying to make money from these mines, and their activities have been reckless. And this is just the way China has operated in the past, in the decades of economic reforms and opening up. And no one is thinking about environmental problems. Making money has been the number one priority, and Inner Mongolia has been especially corrupt in that area. I mean, I think if you go to Beijing or Shanghai, things may be better, but in this province, there's just so much money involved in the mining industry, and and corruption is rampant. So if you really think about it, the case is very similar to COVID, when egregious ambition, reckless behavior, plus lawlessness and lies produced a deadly virus that spread all over the world, right? In this case, the same problems prevalent in communist China, in the system that's prone to all these problems, will pose a public health hazard to the Chinese, if it hasn't already. So what I have told you is based on internet discussions and internet posts, right? It's hard to verify that. And mainland Chinese are very smart. So they're saying, well, how do we know that this is in fact happening? So one Chinese said that, well, let's take a look at how the embassies of the G7 countries in China are reacting. And so they started to look at the activities of the American ambassador to China. Guess what? And then they found this post. So yesterday, on the 6th, Nicholas Burns, who's the ambassador to China, said that he is on his way to, where is he going? Hunan, sorry, not Yunnan. And he said this is his first trip. He said he's leaving Beijing to go to Hunan via the high-speed rail. Now, Hunan is in the south, if you look at the map, right? Hunan is in the center. You see, it's north of Guangdong, right? West of Jiangxi. So it's really in the south. It's pretty far from Inner Mongolia. So we wonder, is it coincidence, or is he leaving Beijing to stay away from the thunderstorm asthma for a couple of weeks? Because state control media said that the situation will be better in 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe they are trying to do something with the mine in Ordos. And so who knows? We don't know. It's just coincidence that Ambassador Burns is leaving Beijing to go to the south. So you tell me what you think is happening. I just share with everything that I gathered. In the beginning, I didn't quite believe it, but after a couple of days, I feel like I need to tell you what this is all about. Okay, so let's see if people have any questions for me. I saw one comment in the beginning before we started from Brian Smith. Was it Brian Smith? And I think it was Brian Smith. I said, Lei, your comment last time about this being a chance for Wu Mao to get views from outside China touched my heart and changed my mind. Well, thank you, Brian, for sharing that. I think it's wonderful that you share that. And that's certainly my hope. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, let me go through the super chat questions first, and then I'll get to the other questions. All right, let me see. From Travel with Love, much love. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, let me see if people have questions. All right, let's see. If you have questions for me, put my name in the front so I know it's addressed to me. From Joshua Upham. Coal power plants going online per week. True? Coal power plants going online. What do you mean going online per week? Password. Lei, why is Taiwan appearing on China's map? I know. When I was Googling for a map of China, I noticed that how they pretty much all show Taiwan. So and yeah, Google, when you Google things in Chinese, you get the contents based on the CCP's view most of the time, unfortunately. All right. That's a great question from Steve Cam. Great information as always. As mentioned, when checks and balances are not a priority and procedures are poor, Wuhan type situation will be repeated. Yes, that's exactly, I think, what this is about. And this might have happened a number of times before. It's just that people didn't know about it, or it wasn't reported as extensively. I think people are now more sensitive about any public health outbreak like that. I think if this case happened before the pandemic, people probably just think, oh, it's a local issue. It's just something going on locally. But now people have been programmed to be so reactive to any public health concerns. So anything can erupt into a social media storm. All right, let me see. From Mitsu, you mentioned Deng Xiaoping's saying "black cat, white cat," but his other famous one was "to get rich is glorious." But I think they added quickly that there are few pop brand from "to get rich is glorious." But the question is, how do you get rich, right? To get rich legally is glorious. So I think they need a adverb there to make it legit, particularly in China, because without rule of law, they just get rich regardless, right? Okay, let's see. Robert Yu. Is the CCP on borrowed time when it comes to reforming their ways? I don't think it's given any time left to reform itself. I think probably 10 years ago, Xi Jinping probably still had time to reform the party to undergo real political reforms. I think at this point, I wonder how much time the Chinese people will give to the regime to reform, to change. I doubt it. All right. Let's see. Moonwalker, I just found out that Foxconn founder Terry Gao wants to run for Taiwan presidency. Is he pro-CCP, pro-unification? What do you think this means for the future of Taiwan if he wins? Yes, he has announced his candidacy more than a week ago. And it's not good news for the Kuomintang because he will compete. He will compete. He will not take any votes away from the DPP, but he will distract the Kuomintang supporters. So the votes for the Kuomintang would be divided three ways. And that's not good news for the Kuomintang, which is the party that the CCP wants to win. As far as is he has he has said on record that he is willing to give up all of his businesses in China in order to do his job as the president for Taiwan. He said he's willing to go back to his whatever early job he did. What did he do? Selling? I forgot. He's willing to go back to the very first job that he did, and I don't know. So I think his joining in the campaign or in the competition becomes good news for Tsai Ing-wen's DPP. That's what people are saying. Ed C. Does China have the equivalent of the EPA and FDA? They do. They have similar. They have. I think they have similar functions. Yeah. All right. Let's see. David Lopan. Wouldn't it only be a matter of time until a confirmation gets out to the West? Certainly, some people will seek medical treatment abroad. Would it be only a matter of time until a confirmation gets out to the West? Yes, I think people, the medical advices that I've read online is one, make sure you wear a mask, a medical grade, a good mask that blocks, dust particles. And the second is stay away from Inner Mongolia. If you can, get out of that region. I think even but then if you stay in the provinces near Inner Mongolia, I mean, the problem right now is where did the coal that left the coal mine went? That's a big question because remember the two bus drivers or truck drivers, the two truck drivers died horrifically, right, from being exposed to radiation, and so that means the substance, the mine, was not properly treated. It's very strong. I mean, radioactively, and so the question is, where did it all go? And wherever it landed in China and got burned, right? And then the dust from burning the coal, how did the thermal power plants treated them or got rid of them? So, I mean, you just can't. So it's just not safe. I think if you can, leave China, right? Um, Jeff Ramos lay, any chance of this new sickness coming from lab leak? I don't know, but Inner Mongolia is known for um, coal mines, and I don't know. I don't know if there are any labs in that area, right? All right, let's see. Let's see. Don't you think that pervasive corruption is the heart of all these kinds of problems in China? Yes. I think pervasive corruption is the heart of all these problems in China. The entire system is corrupt. Mitsu, the situation in Myanmar reminds me of all the ecological horrors that happened in the US. Okay, well, all right. I'm not familiar with the ecological horrors. I hope they're not as bad as this one. All right, let's see. Sila Larson, why do you think she is skipping the G20? Is it concerned with leaving China again so soon now, or is it to snob Modi, or to suggest BRICS is more important? I think all of the above. I did a program on Tuesday to address exactly that. I think it's all of the ones that you mentioned. Jairo Herrera, even though China nuclear waste disposal is 6 to 8 times the number than Fukushima, do you think the CCP is intentionally stirring up um, Japan phobia as a distraction from internal issues? Some people believe that. Some people think that the intentional, um, like you said, the Japan phobia publicity is to cover up the accident, the nuclear powered submarine accident that happened around the same time. That's what some people believe. Um, but it didn't know. I don't think it's meant to cover up uh, this mining accident because the timing is not right. But the thing, what's ironic is because of the heavy propaganda to make Chinese fear of radioactive substance. Now, once the Chinese find out what's happening in Inner Mongolia, not only they will be really resentful of their government, and they also will are in a better position because they have bought so many units of, what do you call that, the radioactive radiation test kits, the radiation detector. There are like tons of thousands, if not more, units sold in a matter of week, and more are on back orders. So the fact that so many people have been educated about radiation and so many units have been sold, now people are empowered to test their environment. And once they find out that this is what's happening, I don't think things will look too good for Beijing. So if you think about the timing, I think Beijing, the CCP, just shot itself in the foot. All right, let's see. Carlo Durin, would you agree that China is a tinderbox right now, that any spark could spread quickly and bring down the regime? Yes, I would certainly agree that. It could happen at any moment now. Uh, Mitsu, why do you think China never created a real independent face brand to launder their rep, make a good quality product that's completely auditable, purely made overseas and made well? You mean what kind of product? I mean, food? Uh, you mean why do Chinese make a good brand? Um, it's difficult because creativity, originality may become a liability. So people feel safer when they're copycats. To create something of your own uh, is more. Sorry, I should come back. I shouldn't have this picture. Is more. It could come with a cost, right? All right. Let's see. Um, let's see. All right. Did I answer all the questions? Unconventional ideas. Do you think this may cause the CCP's love affair with coal fired electricity to seriously sour? I doubt it because coal is inexpensive and China does have a lot of coal. Um, and they're in the hands. I think it's difficult for China to get rid of them or stop them. I mean, the industry is highly regulated. I mean, didn't people say that there's so many restrictions governing the local mines? But look what happened. So I think because it's cheap and it has been used in China for so long and so widely, it's hard for CCP to replace it because it's costly. So I think it's going to stay for a long time. All right, let's see. I think I've answered pretty much all the questions, and thank you very much for joining me. Is there any other questions? Oh, for Mitsu, there Artemisia plant China blamed can possibly cure. Oh, where did it go? The question just disappeared on me. Can cure malaria, and they smeared it for this incident. Shameful. Yes. I mean, they just blame the plant. I don't think the plant could cause that such serious symptoms. Okay. From Jeff Ramos, Lei, with the shortage of sorry, this is with the shortage of Geiger counters, would it be wise to open a Geiger counter factory? Or they've just banned momentarily. What's Geiger counters? I have no idea what it is. I've never heard of it. So explain to me what it is, maybe in the next program. All right, thank you. Thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye. Stay well. Bye-bye.